Morning, church. I don't know about you, but that kind of just makes me feel a little bit sluggish, a bit heavy. It's a tough start to, it's a tough way to start when we see this image of a person who's just actually just carrying around their weight, this visual representation of whatever it may be. We've covered five of the key things, or actually the most disabling things in our life through the series Traveling Light, which actually just, it steals life from us, it drains life from us, and we actually just end up carrying this bag, which we think no one can see, but everyone can actually see, and it's kind of like, do you not see you're carrying that around? And it's sometimes until we see someone that's actually traveling light, traveling with that freedom that we're like, I think I want that. Through this series, we've started off with the baggage of life, the pain, the trials that we've been through, the tough experiences that we just ended up just chucking on our shoulders and carrying with us. The second week, we covered the baggage of self-reliance, this baggage that says, you know what, I can actually do this. I don't need help. I see the options out there and people that want help, but you know what, I think I'm comfortable with just carrying around this bag. The third week, there was the week of bitterness. And I love this week because for me, that it really spoke into where I was at. This week of bitterness was looking at what we choose to set our eyes on. Because what we choose to set our eyes on or value most, that's actually what gives us our joy. The fourth week was this baggage of doubt. It's this thing that says, you know what, I don't know the answer, so I'm going to stick where I am. I don't know the outcome, so you know what, I'm just going to stay in this situation and not step out in courage. And in not the final week, the fifth week, last week, was the baggage of fear and worry. It says, I can't do this. Like, I'm so stressed out. I'm worried about what I haven't done, what I'm not doing, and what I should be doing all the time. And because of that, I just can't be present anywhere in my daily life. And so with that, I don't believe it's a slide, but I want to start with a question. You don't have to answer it out loud. Just answer it in your heart. How was your week? How's your morning been, in fact? Did you rush to church? Did you just slide on in the door at 10:30? You didn't get a chance to get a mean-ass coffee from one of our slick baristas? See, one of the most common problems we're facing in today's culture, and I say culture because I was going to say in the world, but there's actually a lot of places in the world that really have mastered this ability to be present and have peace. But in our Western culture, is that we're so busy and distracted. There's just so many things going on in our life. Just my job, my friends, my relationships. There's so many things I'm trying to juggle that I can't really just be present. See, how often have you found yourself saying one of these common statements? I mean, odds are you probably just answered one of my questions with those statements in your head. I'm so busy. Yeah, it was a busy week. I'm drained. You know what? I need a vacation. To the point where we almost wearing busyness like a badge. Like it's kind of like we're walking around like, yeah, it's busy. How was your week? Busy. You wanna hang out, catch up? Of course, man. I would love to, but I'm busy. I'm busy. See the badge? That's mine, and I'm not taking it off. Yeah, big breath. Pastor and author Carey Nieuwhof, he's a former lawyer, and he's jumped into this. He jumped into faith head first because of an experience in life that just sent him on this whirlpool of burnout, where he's like, "There's got to be something more." And he addresses from his journey what he found as some of the signs and symptoms of busyness, which were leading to burnout or will lead to burnout. And if you can recognize any of these in your life, odds are, you're battling with that right now. And I just want to say, you're in the perfect place. Um, the first was, you've lost your passion for the things that once gave you passion. Two was, everybody's draining you. Just being around people is like life sucking. And so I'd rather just isolate myself, step away from people, because the problem is not me, it's them. They're stealing my energy. I need to protect myself, right? Third was like the little things are making you disproportionately emotional. Like someone asked you how your week was, and you're like, you just break down. You're like, I'm done. Fourth was, you're becoming cynical. You're starting to see the world with a bit of a negative lens, and that's kind of leaching into your relationships, your workplace environment, um, just general conversations. People talking about, so and so and the rugby. Yeah, we watch that game, and oh, tough loss or something like that. And you'd be like, yeah, what do you expect, right? It's the Springboks. Um, but yeah, we're becoming cynical. Uh, Fifth, and this is close to home for our community, and we see it, is that we're self-medicating to ease the stress of everyday life. It's too tough and too noisy to just navigate all of the busyness that I'm trying to get through in life. That I think I just need to self-medicate to take that away. Six is, you're finding it difficult to focus and be present. Like you might just be out at a cafe with someone, catching up with mates for dinner, and like you're just not really there. I don't know if you've ever experienced that with someone. You might be catching up and hanging out, and like they're just glued to their phone, or I don't know, another one. Yeah, they might just have so much. It might not be the phone. They might just have so much worries, or distractions about like the meeting that's coming up. Um, the argument they just had with their girlfriend, that they actually can't even be there with you. Um, and so, yeah, we're finding it difficult to focus and be present. Uh, you've lost a sense of gratitude. That was the eighth one. You find it hard to be grateful for things. If something good comes your way, yeah, that's nice. So it should, right? I deserve it, right? And then lastly was, you've lost the ability to enjoy the simple things in life. Just sitting down to enjoy like a sunset. Just sharing a meal with a friend. And so that's where we are this morning. Busyness. Oh, yeah, I think Dame just had that. And so these are just kind of some of the other things that are attached to this giant bag of busyness, and all the different compartments. Burned out, weariness. I'm just mentally exhausted. Dude, I'm worn out. And it's one of the silent killers in our culture today. I say silent because I believe, like with the badge, it's almost applauded. Like if you ask someone how their week's been and they say busy, it's like, you a hard worker. I see, you're busy. Nice, man. And what this does, this approval of people, it gives us this false motivation that, actually, you know what, it's not that bad. I'll just keep carrying it. See, like. And so we mask the healing that we really need. But on the inside, we know we can't sustain it, right? So it's this cycle. I love what Jamie is. It's like described with fear and worry. We're tired of busyness. But then, like we get this approval of people, and so we don't address it, and so we keep being busy, and it just never is addressed. And again, this is a tough place to start for a Saturday morning. And so this tension that you feel in the room, this quietness, odds are a lot of people either have been here or are here, and that's a tough place to be. But as I said before, you're in the perfect place. Busyness has always been baggage that we as humans have grappled to try and figure out, right? Right to the days, right to the beginning. And so thankfully, we have scripture, we have We have word from God. It's a busy life. Yeah, we have scripture, this word from God that basically is trying to offer us insight into like to step into our situation. See, I love that week of doubt that Geordie shared. Um, that Jesus isn't sitting on the sideline. As soon as we're willing and ready to be like, you know what, I'm done with carrying this bed. He stepped in there before you can even open the door. And so yeah, what I aim to do this morning is unpack an event that happened once upon a time. That sounded really Disney-like, but an event that happened. Um, and Jesus basically, what he's describing through this event and what he wants to speak to us 2,000 years later is that whatever I'm going to speak into this person's life now is relevant to you in your life right now. No matter the cultural differences, it's still relevant. And so where do we find ourselves at damage? And so, yeah, the scripture is found in Luke 10:38. And now some of you may have heard this story before. It's the story of Mary and Martha. And so, yeah, my prayer for you this morning is kind of like that if you've heard it before, you'll hear something different. You'll be offered new insight. And if you haven't, you'll be like, wow, that is breath of fresh air that I just needed to hear this morning. And so, yeah, before we unpack it, I'd just like to pray to invite God into this space. So will you join me? Lord, I thank you for your word. I thank you for how strong it is and the firm foundation it gives us. And I pray that as we unpack it this morning, that it speaks for itself, that you communicate it with this community here, and that you step into each of our situations and help us just address what we're really carrying. Enable us to come to a place where we're ready to just give that up to you and just travel lighter with you. So yeah, I just invite you in your spirit into this place. In your name we pray. So, let me. I'm just thinking context, setup. So, well, the verse says, I don't know, as Jesus and the disciples continued on their way to Jerusalem. So, Jesus and his 12 boys, his 12 crew, his squad, they're rolling on the way to Jerusalem. So we're already set up in the scene that they're on their way. They're not they're not in this town. They're not living in this town. They're going from one place to another. And so they came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed her into her home. So her sister Mary sat at the Lord's feet. So just imagine, this must be a decent-sized lounge because Jesus and his 12 crew are all packed in here right now. And Mary is Martha's sister. So they're obviously living together. This is their whare. And so Mary sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he taught. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. And let me just pause it there. Can we just understand Martha's perspective for a moment? Because often if you've heard the scripture before, we're kind of pretty brutal to Martha. Like, oh, she got it wrong. Come on, man, Martha, you had Jesus in your house. Like, why wouldn't you be there doing what Mary's doing? Sitting at the Lord's feet, just listen to him. This is Jesus. Now, it's easy for us to say now, 2,000 years later, because we know who he is. We know the character of the man and what he came and what he was actually on his way to Jerusalem to do, to die for us, and to rise again so that we could have this eternal life and relationship with him. But culturally, come on, we got to understand. Let's put ourselves back in this room here. This is Jewish culture 2,000 years ago. And Martha's obviously a woman, and the cultural expectations is kind of like, you preparing the food, you're a good host, you're hospitable. And so Jesus and 12 men, of course, you can understand why she would want to be in there, just trying to make an environment that's welcoming. But now she's over, she's done. I'm done with it. She came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? I just can't, I can't not read this and kind of like this. Tell her to help me. Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me. Now, how many of us have found ourselves in this posture, in this situation where like the person that we have an issue with is right here, but we want to talk to someone else and like tell them, Dad, tell my sister that she needs to help me do the chores. Like your sister's right there. Like, hey, do you want to help me with the chores? No, Dad, tell her. Working all night here, tell her to help me. Let's roll demo. That's Martha, Martha, and don't read this like angrily, because other translations, I actually like the New Living Translation of this one. It says, dear Martha. And so this posture of Jesus is like, it's comforting, it's restoring. Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but only one thing matters. Only one thing matters. And Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. And so we're gonna set it up there, and that's basically our foundation for where we're gonna jump into. So let's understand a few things. We're not trying to make a fool out of Martha, because we now understand that she was actually culturally being a great host. And so just like we can be in this day in life culturally, like we can be conforming to things that, just go from A to B, get your work done, spend time with friends. Culture, that's fine. No one sees anything wrong with that. But the cool thing about Jesus is that he came to flip everything on its head and turn it upside down and break with culture. Like, the reality is, Mary is actually doing something that's really culturally inappropriate. Like, she should be, take this with a grain of salt, remember, we're talking culturally here. She should be in the kitchen with Martha, right? She should be. Like, in that time in Jewish culture, that's what you should be doing. To sit at a rabbi's feet, Jesus, this more than a rabbi, this Messiah, this great teacher, to sit at that was actually to take the posture of a disciple. And so let's be honest, we don't hear any commentary from the 12 guys in that room, but they were muttering. You can just be in the kitchen. Huh? Does she know who she is, man? And why isn't she talking? She's just listening. Does she not want to ask him? Does she not want to ask him something? And so this is where we get at. We can still love Jesus. We can still love Jesus. We can know about Jesus. We can understand his value. And yet we cannot prioritize him. See, Jesus isn't questioning Martha whether Martha loves me like he did with Peter. But, Peter, do you love me? Do you love me? He's simply saying, between the lines, will you just prioritize me amongst all this noise, all this busyness, all the things you got to do? Will you just step back and prioritize me? Like, you might be judged for it. Like, these guys are my 12 crew, but they're still human. Don't care about them. Just put aside with that and prioritize me like your sister has done. See, prioritizing is an active word. It's a doing word. It's not simply knowledge or hearing about Jesus. It's actually setting aside time for him. And when we only seek to do things for God, we're missing everything. We're missing the beauty of true relationship. And true relationship comes with intimacy. I'm trying to look for Roz and Lindsay. I love that week they were sharing about roommate or soulmate. Like, are we just treating Jesus like a roommate? Like, can you come and do this stuff for me? And when it's convenient, you know what I mean? Like, okay, Jesus, like now I'm driving. I'll just come in and spend time with me now because we've got a gap, you know what I mean? Or finally it's the end of the day. God, I'm going to squeeze you into these last 5 minutes while I'm like struggling to stay awake. Yeah, I'll invite you into this space now. He just wants intimacy and like the heart of a child. Like the heart of a child. They don't actually care what their mum or dad is like out doing, they may be providing, but all they actually care about is when they come back to spend time with them. And you'll see like when a child is just truly absorbed with like their father or their mother that they love, they're just kind of like so absorbed. Wow. Like they're not caring about, did you pay the bills, Dad? Dad, did you schedule that meeting? Did you get the groceries? Did you unpack the groceries in the right place? It's just like, wow, Dad, like, you're so cool. Can we do this all the time? And that is the posture of Mary in this moment. This is the posture of rest. And so why is this important? Well, it's important because we live busy lives. There's so much going on. And how crazy is it that Jesus is going to come out and just break this whole thing apart, this whole Rubik's Cube of life and busyness and my badge and you see my badge and tell us, like, all of that's cool, but only one thing matters. Like, Jesus, does that mean that all the things I'm doing, like my job and my relationship, doesn't matter? He's not saying that. But he is saying that when you prioritize the one thing that matters, he is going to give you his priorities. And so you begin to in a way, you inherit. When you prioritize him, you inherit his priorities. And he just gives you this lens to see what's important. And so he's not saying to Martha, like, don't ever serve people when they come into your home. Just be with me. He's saying, like, take the time to value me and be present with me. Because when you have that peace, when you're filled up with me, you're going to be able to just pour out and enjoy the simple things. You see, I go back like to these symptoms that Carrie Newhoff was pointing out, and how many do we see of these in Martha? Like, you've lost the passion for the things that once gave you passion. Like, she's obviously a natural server, and now serving just gives her no joy. It's kind of like, this is such a chore. Like, you can imagine her in a time when she's probably come from a place where she's been able to be present with Jesus, and she's just so focused, and people coming into her house, and I couldn't care less about, everything that's going on. Let me just serve you and be present with you. Little things make you disproportionately emotional. Like when you see someone else having peace and rest, like that's flipping her switch right now, and not in a good way. You're becoming cynical. Yeah, like, Jesus, like, tell my sister to come help me. You find it difficult to focus and be present. All of these things. Yeah, we unfortunately see her. And so busyness is not a person, it's a state. And so let's get that clear. Like, Martha isn't this monster that is just busyness that Jesus wants to, like, I'm going to make you an example in Scripture so that people 2,000 of years later know that they never want to be like you, and that they only think and remember about your sister. No, he's saying, no. Remember the tone that he's using. My dear Martha, my girl, you are worried and upset about many things. See, sometimes I don't know if certain context makes any relevance or sense, but Mary, Martha, they're the brother of Lazarus. Now, I don't know if you heard about Laz, but this guy got raised from the dead. That is some crazy stuff, you know what I mean? Like, outside of the disciples, Scripture tells us that Mary, Martha, and Laz, they were like one of Jesus' closest friends. So he's not speaking to her like, bruh. He's speaking to her like, Martha, come on. You worried, right? I've said about many things, but remember, it's me. This is all that matters, relationship with me. It won't be taken from you. Like when this life is over, it's short. But when this life is over, we don't take anything with us. It stays here. But there's one thing that won't be taken from us, and it's this relationship. It's sitting at his feet and just being present. Um, and so, yeah, like, what does this look like? And before we jump into this next one, I want to just unpack, like, at its core, this is actually what it means to be a Jesus follower. We have a lot of spiritually and churchy words, and you might have heard this word Jesus follower, and it's like, dude, is this like criteria A, B? Do I have to become part of the brethren and like make sure I reach ultimate status and have learned the Torah and all of that? No, it's like, to become a Jesus follower, you actually just have to say that you are going to prioritize the one thing that matters. You're going to prioritize him. And like, wherever you go, I'm going. Wherever you step, I'm going to step. When you speak, I'm going to make sure that it's quiet enough so that I can hear you. So what does this look like? So we know now, like, to receive rest for our souls amongst all this busyness, we actually just have to prioritize him. But what I love about Scripture is it's so practical. Like, I used to think it was this real like history book of things that were inspiring and things we could learn from, but everything in there is relevant to us today. And God doesn't leave us like, okay, I'm the one thing that matters, and then that's it. It's like, well, how, God? The fact that I'm here in the first place is because I'm too busy to even know how to prioritize you. And so this is cool. Like, he uses himself as an example. Damage, let's roll. Very early in the morning, this is found in Mark 1, verse 35. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went to a solitary place where he prayed. Simon and his companions went to look for him. So they obviously woke up. They see their boy's gone, and they're like, man, is he all good? So they go looking for him. And when they found him, they exclaimed, Jesus! I'm shouting because there's the exclamation point. So sorry, that everyone is looking for you. Jesus replied, let us go somewhere else to the nearby villages so that I can preach, for that is why I have come. So let's jump back a couple. Back a couple. See, to prioritize Jesus, to be in relationship with Jesus, we actually have to prioritize time to be in relationship with him. And so basically, he's giving us this setup. And he's saying, like, very early in the morning, while it was still dark. So basically, and some translations say, like, I think they actually put a time to it. It was like 5:30 or something. I don't know why it's relevant, but Jesus got up. So the town, this is a small town where they're at the time, and this village is crammed full of people. And a lot of these are laborers, workers, so they're up early, which means Jesus has to get up real early, because he's a known person. People want to be with him. So he's got to get away to a solitary place. And that's where it gets practical for us. Dame, just run to the next. Sorry, and the next. Oh, at the practical steps. This is what Jesus is showing us. We actually have to schedule in time to spend with God. Our schedules are so busy that if we don't put a place for him in there, let's say, for example, Jesus, I'm gonna follow whatever your example was. Sunrise. When I first wake up, I'm gonna spend time with you. It'll just fill itself out, and then we're left giving Jesus the leftovers, like those moments in like just driving in the car. Our daily schedules reveal what we value most. And this is a tough one, because I want you to ask yourself, like, are you squeezing Jesus into the leftovers, whatever time that you have left after everything else? Our daily schedules reveal what we value most. See, like, how would you respond to someone if they said they loved you, but they didn't show it? Like, they said they wanted relationship with you. Like, man, I love you. You're a great person. I just don't want to spend time with you. Like, there's guys and girls, if you want, there's not a good pickup line. Oh my gosh, like, I love you. How little time can we spend there so that you still love me back? Like, yeah, that would not go well. And that's the amazing thing about God. Like, he's not spiteful, he's not resentful. He's actually always just waiting there. He's like, whenever you choose, I'll be here. That's the beauty of choice. He doesn't force his love upon us. He wants us to decide, like, out of our choice, like, I want relationship with you. And I think that's what must cut him deep, like, so much, is that he gave us this choice so that our love would be from us, but knowing that, like, his creation will so often just neglect him. Wow, that's heavy. The second one is the necessary no. And this one has, what's the sub to this, Dan? Yeah, our no protects what we prioritize. So kind of like, once we've made this space to get away with Jesus, we actually have to protect that. Because our no is never just a no on its own. Our no is always a yes to something else. If I'm saying no to you, like to hang out, for example, it's because I want to do something else. A no is never just no. So we have to learn to say no. It's kind of like it's almost, I don't want to say like a swear word in today's culture, but it's pretty frowned upon, eh? Like, oh no? You don't want to, like, help me out? You don't do that for me? No? Are you saying no? Why? We don't always need to please people. We don't always need to be doing things just because culture says so. Because otherwise, like Martha, we can get just caught up in the busyness of doing things for people, and then like just forgetting the only thing that matters. And so, like, this is probably the toughest one for me as I was unpacking, like, the scripture. I'm pretty terrible at saying no to things, eh? And, like, I think that's the beauty of, like, Wes invited me to share on this week of busyness, was that, like, I'm probably the worst culprit of busyness. And most of it is not because, like, I'm intentionally seeking out every day, like, today I'm going to go get busy and drain my life. It's like, a lot of it is good intention. Like, we want to serve people, but until we've received him, we can't do that with the attitude of gratitude. Like, yeah, it's tough. And so that leaves us with the last one. Get away from the distractions. This may be probably the most important one. Being in solitude with God enables us to be fully present with him. Like, if you want to catch up with someone that you haven't seen in a while, or that you have seen in a while, you're not going to be like, yo, let's go catch up at that rock concert, like, or that really noisy motorway. Because it's like, you ain't going to hear them. And plus, it's not even a nice place. Like, find that place to you. What is that place of solitude? This is not like this criteria of things you have to do. It's like, once we know we want to be in a relationship with Jesus, these are the things that we put to basically foster protecting time with him. And so I don't know what it is for you. Like, for me, it's nature. If you ever see, like, me out in the public and wonder, is that guy all good? He's just like walking along the beach on his own. It's cool. Like, chill. I'm just spending time with God. So for you, it might be nature. It might just, you get up early in the morning. It might not necessarily be opening the word. It might just be like walking around the block. You just put in your headphones, chuck on some worship. Cool, God, it's you and me. I'm getting away. And just like whatever he chooses to speak to us in that moment, like that's up to him. See, when we get away to be with God, that's when we can truly be present and simply listen to hear his voice. Like it's hard to hear people speak to us in the noise. And I love all of this gets to. Scheduling time, making him a priority, saying no to protect that, and getting away from the distraction. It's like this thing, apokaradokia, that Walt shared in the bitterness week, that this is basically just this posture of fixing our eyes on him. And that Greek word apokaradokia is truly just to be fixed on him. Like Mary was, like Mary didn't probably have any idea of what her sister was doing, what the other lads were thinking. She was just fixed on them. Fixed on Jesus. Yeah. It's pretty amazing, the love that Jesus has for us. And I read an interesting story this week as I was preparing for this, and I thought, like, man, I gotta share that. Because if people get mixed up that they have to do things in order for him to come into our lives, rather than just simply understanding that he wants to come into our lives and that these are just things that show that we prioritize him. Like if I love someone, if any of us, put yourself in the shoes, if you love someone, like naturally you want to spend time with them. It's like, duh, I love you. Like, can we spend time all the time? Maybe not all the time, but I need at least once a day. You know, like when you get to that place, that is true relationship and intimacy. So if we miss that and go straight to this, all of this doesn't matter. Because that's just religion. That's trying to do things so God loves us. But because we love him, we want to protect time with him. So the story I read, it blew my mind. It was like, this is the situation we see in our culture today. And it comes from this author and pastor, Ben Stewart. And he says, I see a generation lost at sea, unsure how to navigate the stormy sea of life, no bearings of north, nor their direction. They're simply just trying to stay afloat, trying to stay above water, but adrift, battered by the winds and waves. And so he says, back in the day when a ship sailed into treacherous waters, the captain, he had to acknowledge that he lacked sufficient knowledge. Acknowledge that he lacks sufficient knowledge of the area that he was in. And generally, this is like he's been out on the ocean, battered and tossed around, but with his crew, and he's trying to find port. See, port or a harbor is where you find shelter, and that's where you get resupplies. You can just pitch up, and it's like, oh, there's rest, the rest that we need. And so when they were trying to come into these ports, they didn't have the GPS and tech that we do. Like basically a thing just guides you on your own. They had to come to a place that they didn't know everything. They lacked sufficient knowledge of the area to guide their vessel safely into port. And so when that realization hit, when they came to that understanding, they would raise the flag, the captain would raise the flag at the top of his mast that signaled, I require a pilot. And whenever a local pilot familiar with the area, familiar with the shipping channels, the tides, the rocks, the reefs, everything about that, whenever he saw that flag, he would jump in his dinghy, row out, come aboard, and he would take over the captaincy of that ship. He would take control of the vessel, and he would guide it safely through the rocks, through the reefs, and into port, and to signal that to any other pilots who may have wanted to come aboard and help these guys out, that they were no longer needed. The vessel would fly another flag, one that was half red and half white, and this flag declared to all who see that I have a pilot, that I have found the one thing that matters. I'm good. And see, in the analogy of a sailor who's been on the ocean, these harbors present this place of rest. And for us, yeah, I just want to ask you, like, are you in that place where you're done with carrying this busyness? You want to find rest. Um, you really just surrender, like, control and put up that flag that says, like, God, I've heard you're the creator, and I, I guess I know this, but I think I'm ready to just give you control. See, one experience that I had with basically finally just trying to break up with busyness, break up with the distraction, and just get away was Wiz and Zal's wedding. Like, I really wanted to say, side note, it's Wiz's birthday today, and like, can we just give him applause? Like, sorry, I had to. But I wouldn't have had this experience if I wasn't down there at their wedding, you know what I mean? Anyway, so we were at our Airbnb the evening, the night before his wedding, and the Airbnb had a bike. And I was kind of like, dude, I just want to go for a bike ride. New Plymouth has this amazing coastal walkway. It was actually rated one of the best, if not the best in the world. And it goes for a stretch of like, I think, I don't know, 10, 20K. And so we were out in one of these far suburbs. So I was like, I'm just gonna go for a bike ride. It's a killer evening. Like as I was biking along the coast, it kind of hit me that I realized I was like, dude, I experienced silence in so long. Like it's kind of weird. Like busyness and the noise had just become so normal to me. I'd just become so accustomed to the culture of doing stuff that I was like, God, is this normal? I was like, God, I'm finally like away from everything. Do you want to say anything? Like, this is your time. I'm prioritizing you, getting away from distractions. And like I kid you not, I heard nothing. And like you probably won't hear that much from people on stage. Like I asked God to speak to me, and He said nothing. But what's crazy is like as I continued to bike along, like this sunset that appeared that just literally it blew my mind. And in that moment, I just felt God saying like, you just need to experience what it's like to just be silent and to embrace spending time with me. I don't need to say anything all the time. Like I'm just glad you're here with me. Like, and I'm just about to put on a show of a sunset. Like when was the last time we took time out to just discover Him and let Him basically show Himself to us? Like Mary, it doesn't say she was asking questions, saying this and that. She was just listening. And so, yeah, like while God wasn't overly chatty to me that evening, I felt like He said everything He needed to. It's kind of convenient, eh? Like our Creator who created us, knows everything about us, would know what we need, but yet still just sit there and He'll wait for us to invite Him. He's not going to barge on, and we have to get to that place. So, yeah, church, that's basically, that's where I want to leave us today, is that I want to ask you this question, like, are you done? Ask yourself this, am I done carrying the weight, the burdens of busyness of life that I was actually never created to carry? Because until we get to that space where we decide, I'm done, God, take it. I don't want to keep walking around life with all of this. He won't be able to step in. He's not going to take something we don't offer Him. And so basically, yeah, I want to leave you with this question. Well, actually, Jesus does. And it's addressed to all of us. I think it was a verse back. He's asking us, are you tired? Worn out? Burnt out of religion? Come to me. Get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me. Work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. See, I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Just keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. And like, I asked Wiz, I was like, Wiz, like, why do we choose to have, amongst all this baggage, why rest last? And yeah, God works in crazy ways sometimes. Like, to ask the guy who probably struggles with busyness so much to speak on busyness is a paradox in itself. But then to basically leave us this traveling light series, I'll jump one back, demo, to basically set it all off. Oh, demo, just one more back. Oh, back. Sure. Yeah, keep company with me. Oh, yeah. And you'll learn to live freely and lightly. Like this series is called Traveling Light. If we came out of traveling light and didn't understand how the heck I travel light, what would the point have been in us unpacking all of this baggage? Like, I just addressed all of this stuff that I had forced down and kept that way good, and I just want now it's up, and like, what do I do with it? And this is the beauty of where we're left here. Jesus is just saying, are you done with that? Like, are you done with carrying that? Well, when you decide you're done, you're in the perfect place for me to step in. Now just let it go. Drop all the distractions and just come prioritize the one thing that matters. The one thing that matters is being present in relationship with me. I love it. Walk with me, work with me, watch how I do it. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. Unforced. I'm not going to force my love upon you. These rhythms of grace, why don't we, those action steps, why don't we think of those as rhythms of grace? Scheduling time just to be with Him, saying no to things, and just getting away from distractions. That's not a chore list of criteria, it's just the rhythms of grace. And in that space where we get away with Him, He's gonna speak to wherever you are. If like me, He might say to you, you don't actually need me to say anything right now. You've been so busy and hectic with work, relationships, trying to serve everything that you need to just be reminded how beautiful silence is. It's pretty cool, eh? Oh, and also I'm an amazing creator. Check that out. Whatever it is, he'll speak to you. He'll step into a way that only He can. And you'll learn to you'll learn to live freely and lightly. So that's where I want to leave you guys today. I want to leave us as a church today. If you want to travel light and you're done with the baggage that you've been carrying around, baggage of life, self-reliance, bitterness, doubt, fear, worry, just being busy, you're ready to just lay it at His feet, you're in the perfect place. He's ready to step in and He wants to. And you just have to decide that in your heart.